Okay, good evening and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners October 1, 2019, 5:30 Public Roundtable hearing on countywide budget, general fund, property valuation, and taxation. May I ask all those present to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the record should reflect that all three county commissioners are present for this evening's hearing. Before I begin, I'd like to go over some rules. First, I'd like to ask everybody out there, to turn down their cell phones and put them on vibrate so they don't disturb any speakers. And second, if anyone wishes to testify, to please fill out a yellow form so you can come up and testify. With that, I will open the first of our two open public forums for tonight. This is for anyone wishing to testify on anything that is not on the agenda. First call, second call, third and final call for anyone wishing to testify at the open public hearing. I will now close it, and then I will look to Tanya to come up and give us a presentation.
Thank you, commissioners, audience. This is the first of three public roundtables, and so tonight our focus is really going to be on our resources, how our property tax works, and sales tax, because those tend to be topics of great importance to the public. So we're really going to briefly cover some objectives, go over some of the property tax, how it works, some of the sales tax, and then quickly close with some of the upcoming roundtables that we have, and then where you can get more information if you're interested. So we have three primary tax-based objectives, and that's maintain or enhance our service and our performance levels. The county is actively pursuing this, and you can see this, for example, when we talk about direct supervision in our jail services, which would be an enhancement over our current services. Another main objective is to maximize our taxpayer investment in infrastructures. This is also very similar to the county taking a very careful look and using the community, for example, to determine what is the right size for our detention services, really based on our community philosophy and our population growth. So it's taking many different factors into account to properly size the facility that we're going to need. But the county is not just looking forward. We're also looking at how do we maintain our existing infrastructure, such as the remodel project that's happening on the second floor of the county courthouse, as well as the modernization of many of our restrooms in the courthouse. And of course, our third tax-based objective is increasing the tax base through economic development efforts. A really good example of that is our county's active participation in the West Plains through the creation of a public development agency. The county is also having conversations and pursuing other PDAs or public development agency models that will continue to increase that economic development effort. And you're going to see a little later about why that is so beneficial. So our preliminary 2020 resources in total, including the use of fund balance, right now is looking at $754 million. Now, as you see from this pie chart, property tax is only 13% of that, as is sales tax. Our number one source for revenue is in our user fees. And this is largely in our user fees for our utilities, as well as what we charge other government agencies that we do service for, such as sheriff policing and our detention jail services when we provide municipal jail services to our many cities in the area. And our second source, which I should point out, is the other. So what is other? Well, there is a lot of miscellaneous, such as interest, but it is also largely interfund transfers. So that's where the county has many different checkbooks, and we take money from one checkbook and we add it to another checkbook. It's this add to the other checkbook that shows up in that pie slice for other. Here is our preliminary expenditures for the county for all the services that we provide. Now, it's also $754 million because we would present publicly a balanced budget to the commissioners and to the public. Now, how does this in our total services compare to 2019? Well, preliminarily, it's about $36 million less than what we adopted for in 19. Now, that is primarily because of a lot of bonds and debt that we paid off in 19, as well as capital that was invested. I should note too, about $6 million of that $36 million is related to 911 emergency communications, or our scraps, where we did set up a new agency, and while the funding didn't really change from 19 to 20 that is being put towards that from the counties, all of our interfund transfers, and the county had 3 of them, is a big part of that $6 million change. Now let's take a look at how property tax works. Washington is based on, its tax system is based on a budget system, which really means the property tax that you get assessed is based on our budget as well as the other taxing districts. It's not really, although your market value plays a role, it's not based on your market value. Washington also has one of the most complicated property tax systems in the state. So what it is that our county budget, as you can see that top line up there, is what determines how everybody's taxes are going to be spent. And if everybody's taxes are equal, then everybody would pay, if their assessed value is the same, then everybody would pay an equal share. However, you pay a proportionate share based on your assessed value. So you can see in this slide, if 2 values are different, you're going to pay more or less of that county budget amount. But you can see from this slide, there's a 1% limitation. That's on the county's budget. As with any taxing district, our budget can only increase 10%, or in this example, by $10. And then that gets allocated based on the market value. In this example, even if market values increase 5%, we cannot increase our budget by that change in market value. That's what a budget-based property tax system means. Now, what about new construction? And this was a very good year for new construction, but how does that play a factor in all of this? Well, new construction does 2 things. It allows the county to increase its budget, and it spreads the tax base. So if nothing else changes, new construction allows everybody's taxes to go down by spreading that base. But it's also the one way that the county can have a growth application added to its budget, because certainly with new construction, that means more population, more jobs, more demand for services. So how do we pay for that? We pay for that by taxing that growth factor. This report is taken from the Assessor's 2019 report. So an important question that a lot of folks ask is, well, where does all my tax money go? Certainly I get my tax bill and I pay everything to the county. Yes, that is one of the services the county does, is we assess all the property, we send out all the tax bills, and we collect all of the taxes. But not all of your tax dollars actually come to the county. Only a little more than 10% is used by the county. As you can see here from this 19 report, most of it goes to the school district. Now Now, property tax rates, again, this is taken from the assessor's 2019 report. Generally, property tax rates have an inverse relation to market value. If market value goes up, rates go down. If market value goes down, rates go up. But you can see a significant change from 18 to 19. And that was due to the change in school district levies that were then capped in 2019. Now here's new construction. You can see the new construction for these 10 years that are presented, and 2019 was a very, very good year. Again, this is how the county can increase its property tax budget, largely through this growth factor of new construction. Well, in the preliminary budget, and this is why we also caution that what's preliminary, the numbers are subject to change. When we've been talking about the preliminary budget, we estimated new construction to be about $911 million. Still a significant increase over 2019, but then just a few weeks ago when it certified at almost $1.1 billion to the county. So what we do with that, and what every taxing district does with that amount, is that market value times last year's rate gives them their growth in their budget. Now, if we take a little closer look at just the county's property tax, so remember it's only a little more than 10% of a total bill, a total amount collected. If we take a closer look at it, the county's property tax is comprised of three primary levies: the general levy, the roads levy, and conservation futures. Conservation futures and the general levy are assessed to everybody in the county. The roads levy is only assessed to those in the unincorporated area. And here in this chart, you can see, since 2020 hasn't been settled yet, this is 2019, showing what those rates were for those different levies and the relative dollar amount for those amounts. Now let's take a little look at sales tax. Sales tax is one of those other categories, like property tax, where there's this large rate, but the county does not get most of the money. If you look at this sales tax rate, you can see most of the money goes to the state. The rest of it does go to cities and counties, and then for special purposes. When it comes to the county sales tax portion, it really depends on whether those purchases are made inside the city or outside of the city. As you can see here, if it's inside the city, we get 15% of that's charged. If it's outside of the city, we get 100% of it. Here's a chart of what we have included in our preliminary budget. This is based on a very detailed analysis and economic review of these sales tax components for the county's budget. So what is it really looking like that we're projecting for 2020? Again, the numbers aren't complete, but overall we are expecting still a lot of growth, but it'll be slightly slower than what we had seen in 2019 and 2018. 2018 does appear to be a peak right now. Population growth will continue, and construction activity is going to be a very important factor that we're going to have to monitor very closely, which is again why we're focusing on those economic PDAs for development purposes. And of course, sales tax, which is a key element of our general fund, we're expecting it to continue to grow, but at a slower pace. This was a really high-level overview just to give context for everything that is coming. So what can be expected over the next few weeks? Well, next Tuesday we will have a Public Roundtable number 2, which will focus on law and justice, and we will highlight 3 different departments. There will be the Sheriff's Office, Detention Services, and then our Law and Justice Department. On October 22nd, we will highlight roads, environmental services, and our human services, including vets. December 2nd will be 2 public hearings, And that is on when we set our levies and we determine what we're going to levy for our 3 property tax levies, and then our total 2020 budget. So I'm sure the commissioners look forward to hearing from the public as they go through this process.
Thank you, Tanya. Is there any questions for Tanya from the commissioners? Yep. Great job. Thank you very much. Yep, we done. Okay, so just seeing if anyone wants to testify tonight on the they can. Oh, we'll. Okay, I'm sorry.
So anybody can speak to that, and then we'll keep the record open because we have the next 2 roundtables.
Okay, so the record will stay open during the next 2 roundtables for anyone wishing to speak on any of the budget items. So just to be clear, so on any of these 3 dates, tonight or the next 2 dates that we have for budget, we will keep the record open in case anyone would like to testify. They're welcome to testify on tonight's during those next 2 as well. So this is a public hearing, again, on tonight's budget. So if anyone would like to testify, I ask you please fill out a yellow form. First call for anyone wishing to testify. Second call, third call. So we'll keep the record open, but that will conclude that for tonight's purpose, which will then lead me to our last open public forum. So anyone wishing to testify on anything other than the budget, I will open that up now. So first call, second call, third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on our open public forum. Seeing none, I will close the open public forum and see if there's anything else that we need to do tonight, Jerry?
Madam Chair, we don't have any other business tonight.
Okay, seeing that we've taken care of all the matters that are scheduled for tonight, I will then, there's no further business, I will adjourn the meeting for tonight.